Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you an incredible story that happened in Baltimore. But first, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from. Because stories like this happen all across America, and maybe there are silent heroes in your city too. And if you believe that real heroes' stories deserve to be told, don't forget to subscribe. Because these stories must not be forgotten. The security guard laughed at him. "Get out, old man. This isn't your place." The elderly man quietly stood up and walked away slowly. But 20 minutes later, 8 black vehicles entered the hospital parking lot. The men who got out were in uniform, and all their eyes were searching for the same target. The emergency room waiting area at Johns Hopkins Hospital was crowded as usual. It was 2:30 p.m. and about 30 people were waiting for their turn. Nurses were rushing around, doctors passing by hurriedly, and patient families waiting anxiously. In the corner plastic chair sat 74-year-old James Wilson. He wore an old khaki jacket, a faded blue shirt, and black pants. He held a small briefcase in his hands and quietly waited for his turn. No one would look at him twice. A typical retiree, a typical patient. Wilson had been dealing with chest pains for 3 weeks. He lived alone at home, his children in distant cities. He had tried to make an appointment, but due to system confusion, his appointment was lost. He had to come to the emergency room. When the young woman at reception looked at him for the 3rd time, she frowned. "Are you still waiting here?" she said, clear annoyance in her voice. "Yes, I'm still waiting for my turn," Wilson replied calmly. "This is an emergency room, not a nursing home for elderly people." "Those with serious emergencies go first." Wilson just nodded. "I understand. I'll wait." Security guard Marcus Johnson had also noticed the situation. 28 years old, large build, he had been working at the hospital for 3 years. He liked categorizing people, and Wilson was just in the time-wasting old man category in his eyes. "Hey, old man," Marcus called out loudly so other patients could hear. "This isn't your living room. If you're looking for a place to sit around doing nothing, there's a park outside." A few people in the room smiled. Wilson just looked at Marcus and said nothing. Marcus was bothered by this silence. "Are you deaf or something?" "I'm talking to you." "I can hear you," Wilson replied calmly. "I'm waiting for my turn." "What's wrong with you anyway? Flu? Cold?" Marcus asked in a mocking tone. "Or do you just want some attention?" Wilson took a deep breath. "Chest pain. It's been going on for 3 weeks." "Chest pain," Marcus repeated loudly. "And of course it's serious enough to sit here and wait." The people around were now openly watching. Some looked uncomfortable, but no one intervened. When Nurse Sandra Martinez noticed the situation, she approached Marcus. "Marcus, you shouldn't talk to patients this way." "Sandra, this man has been sitting here for 3 hours. There are people with real emergencies. He's also a real patient and deserves respect." Marcus shrugged. "Respect is earned, Sandra. Age doesn't automatically make you respectable." Hearing these words, Wilson slowly stood up. He took his bag and walked toward Marcus. Marcus stood confidently, arms crossed over his chest. "You're right," Wilson said quietly. "Respect is earned. Finally came to your senses. Now get out." Wilson opened his bag and took out an old, worn wallet. From inside the wallet, he pulled out an ID card protected by plastic and held it out to Marcus. When Marcus took the card, his eyebrows furrowed. The card wasn't an ordinary driver's license or ID. It read, "Central Intelligence Agency, retired," with a photo of Wilson's younger self. "This must be fake," Marcus muttered, but his voice wasn't as confident anymore. Wilson took out a small badge from another section of the wallet. It bore an eagle and distinguished service. 1973 to 2003, CIA Special Operations Division, Wilson explained in a calm voice. "Afghanistan, Iraq, Colombia, Bosnia, 30 years of service." Now I'm curious in the comments. If you were in Marcus's position, what would you have done? Write it down. Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he returned the cards. The people around were now watching in silence. I didn't know," Marcus stammered. "You didn't need to know," Wilson replied, "but you needed to show respect to every human being." Wilson turned and started to leave. Marcus called after him, "Mr. Wilson, stay! I'll get you seen by a doctor immediately." Wilson stopped and turned around. "Thank you, but it's no longer necessary." And he left the hospital. Slow, calm steps. In the parking lot, he got into his old Honda Civic and drove away. The silence that remained in the hospital lasted for a minute. Sandra looked at Marcus, shook her head, and returned to work. The other patients also slowly returned to their own business. Marcus remained where he stood. For the first time in his life, he had judged someone just for being old and had been wrong. But the story wasn't over yet. When Wilson arrived home, his cell phone rang. It was Dr. Michael Chen, the son of an old colleague at Johns Hopkins. Chen knew about Wilson's CIA duties. "Uncle James, I watched the security camera footage from the hospital." "What happened there?" Wilson briefly explained the situation. Chen listened, then said, "Uncle James, this can't stay like this. Many people working at that hospital should know who you are." "Michael, it's not necessary. It's over and done." "No, it's necessary. Come to the hospital tomorrow morning. I've arranged it." The next morning at 9 a.m., Wilson arrived at the hospital. This time not to the emergency room, but to the main entrance. Chen greeted him. "Today will be different," Chen smiled. In the emergency room, Marcus was on duty as usual. He didn't even want to think about yesterday's incident. He couldn't sleep from shame. At exactly 9:30 a.m., an announcement was heard over the hospital loudspeakers. "Attention all staff. An important meeting will be held in the main lobby. All available staff, please come to the main lobby." Marcus also curiously went down to the main lobby. A small crowd had gathered there. Staff, patients, visitors. Hospital director Dr. Patricia Williams stood on a small platform. Wilson was beside her. "Friends," Dr. Williams began, "today we have a very special guest among us, Mr. James Wilson, a hero who served the United States for 30 years and risked his life for our nation's security." Now guess, what was Marcus's facial expression? Write it in the comments. Marcus stood in the crowd, and his face turned bright red. He noticed Wilson, but Wilson wasn't looking at him. Dr. Williams continued, "Mr. Wilson rescued Taliban prisoners in Afghanistan, fought bomb experts in Iraq, participated in 47 life-saving operations worldwide. He holds the CIA's most prestigious medals." Applause rose from the crowd. Marcus tried to clap, but his hands were trembling. "And yesterday, Doctor," Williams's voice hardened, "this hero of ours was subjected to disrespect in our hospital." Now everyone was curious. What had happened? Dr. Williams continued, "One of our staff members called Mr. Wilson old man, humiliated him, and told him to leave the hospital." Murmurs began in the crowd. This was unacceptable. "Whoever is responsible for this situation, Doctor," Williams added in a firm tone, "should know that we have no tolerance for anyone being humiliated because of their age, appearance, or condition in this hospital." Marcus's legs began to tremble. He thought he would lose his job. Wilson took small steps onto the platform. He went to the microphone. Deep silence fell in the hall. "I'm not angry with you," Wilson began, "because you didn't know my past. And my past doesn't make me a better person." He paused and looked at the crowd. "But every person, young, old, rich, poor, deserves respect. Not just for what we've done, but because we're human." Marcus felt tears coming. "If there's a mistake," Wilson continued, "if the person who made this mistake wants to apologize, I apologize too, because I'm not perfect either." At that moment, Marcus stepped forward. He passed through the crowd and stood in front of the platform. "Mr. Wilson," his voice wouldn't come out. I apologize. I was very wrong." Wilson came down from the platform and went to Marcus's side. "What's your name, son?" "Marcus Johnson, sir." "Marcus, we all make mistakes. What matters is learning from our mistakes." And Wilson extended his hand to Marcus. When Marcus shook it, tears streamed from his eyes. "Will you forgive me?" Marcus asked. "I already forgave you," Wilson smiled. The crowd applauded enthusiastically, but Wilson wasn't finished yet. Dr. Williams, I have a request." "Of course, Mr. Wilson. Don't let anything happen to Marcus's job. He was just doing his job, and I'm sure he'll do it better now. Dr. Williams nodded. Of course, Marcus will keep his job. After the meeting, Marcus went to Wilson. Mr. Wilson, I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me, Marcus. From now on, show respect to everyone you meet. That would be the greatest thanks for me. I promise, sir. As Wilson left the hospital, Dr. Chen accompanied him. Uncle James, today was magnificent. Michael, that kid wasn't bad. He just needed to learn. And you taught him. 3 months passed. Marcus was now one of the most respectful and polite security guards at the hospital. He addressed every elderly patient as sir or ma'am. He never forgot the lesson Wilson gave him. Wilson came for his regular checkups. His chest pains had passed, his health was good, and every time he came, Marcus greeted him with great respect. One day, Marcus asked him, Mr. Zero, Wilson, you were on dangerous missions for so many years. What was your most difficult moment? Wilson thought. My most difficult moment was when I had to kill an enemy, but knew he had a family too. Even in war, you shouldn't lose your humanity. Is that why you forgave me? I couldn't forgive you, Marcus. You weren't an enemy. You were just a person who had lost his way. Marcus's eyes filled up. I want to be like you. You already are. You just needed to realize it. At the end of our story, I ask you, have you ever met a Wilson like this in your life? A person who influenced you, changed you? Write their names in the comments because they deserve to be remembered too. And if this story affected you, don't forget to like and subscribe, because real heroes' stories must not be forgotten. They must continue to be told. See you in the next video. And remember, respect is earned, but it must first be given.